So I am, as he said, my name's Rashonda Tate. I am in the master's program here. I am also, hello. I am also the author of 54 books. I have two of my books have been made into movies. I'm a screenwriter. I have 3 screenplays that are being made into movies as we speak. So I'm a Jill of all trades, but one of my day job is managing editor for the Houston Defender. And I would, at this time, like our Houston Defender panel to come up. And that is, I'm going to let each one of them introduce themselves as they come. You can come on now.
Rashonda, you gonna stay there?
I'll stay here, yeah. Yes, it's 3. Now, as they're coming, let me ask you guys, has anyone who in here knows what the Houston Defender is? Okay. The Houston Defender is Houston's leading Black information source. We are a Black newspaper, and we have been around for a very, very long time. So what we actually have are, we started out as a newspaper. We call ourselves Defender Network now because we have a website that is one of the top Black websites in the country. And yes, that is worthy of applause. And we have that unlike a lot of times when you see Black media, they recirculate press releases. We have a reporting team. And our team is here today, and we're going to talk a little bit about the role of the Black press and how you can use the Black press to leverage what it is that you want to do in life. And we say Black press, one of our reporters is not here. She's at City Hall. She is our City Hall politics education reporter, and she's actually an Indian young woman. And so we say Black press because we cover Black stories, but we take in a good reporter. That's what we're looking for. So it's not just for the Black students or Black reporters. So I want to just jump right in and let each of our panelists introduce themselves, and they'll tell you quickly what they do at the Defender. Laura?
Shoot. Hi, everyone. Good morning. My name is Laura Onyenaho, and I am the lifestyle and culture reporter for the newspaper.
Good morning, my name is Aswad Walker, and I'm the community reporter for the Defender.
My name is Terrence Harris, and I'm a lot of things. I'm the digital content manager, which I guess is my big job, but I also do the sports content, college and sports coverage as well. So I spend a lot of time out here covering TSU, football, basketball, softball, all things sports TSU. As a matter of fact, if you want to pull it up this morning, we have a story on Johnny Jones, and we're the only ones who talked to Johnny about his decision to resign and go to LSU. So check us out.
And just FYI, I don't think there is any news spot in the city that covers TSU sports like this brother right here. So just shout out to my brother.
I appreciate the love. I appreciate the love.
And that is one of the things about the Black press. What we do is we cover stories that you won't see anywhere else. For example, on our website today is a story about TSU's Ascend program. The mainstream media isn't covering that. There are opportunities at the Defender and at Black papers that you won't get anywhere else. And we're going to talk about some of those opportunities also. But I wanted to talk about how you all got with the Defender. I'm going to start by telling you I have actually been with the Defender, gosh, I have lost count, over 30 years. I graduated from the University of Texas at Austin, and I came to work for the Defender, but I really wanted to do TV news, and our publisher, Sonny Messiah Giles, is a nurturer, and that is one of the things I love about the Defender. So I couldn't get a job here in Houston in TV news, so I began working as a reporter at the Defender. And Sonny sat me down and said, well, what is it you want to do? And I said, I like it here, but I really want to be on TV. And so she said, we'll figure out how to make that happen. And you don't see that in mainstream media where your boss is trying to figure out how to help you get another job. So what we did is, at the time, I wanted to work in television. Channel 13, we did a story on the lack of Black people on air in Houston. So that was our way in. So I had to interview the news director at all the stations here, including Channel 13. And so as I'm talking to him about getting a statement from him on why they don't have as many Black people working, I end up finagling a job out of it. And so that is an opportunity that you get through the Black Press, those type of things. Laura, how did you come to work for the Black Press?
Oh, wow. Taking it back to my graduate school days at Emerson College in Boston. I freelanced for the Bay State Banner newspaper, so I was their freelance reporter at the time, and that was back in 2013, 2014. That was my entrance into journalism for a Black press. But for the Defender, I entered through Report for America. How many of you guys are, okay, how many people are familiar with Report for America? It's kind of like AmeriCorps for reporters. And so they recruit young people like yourselves all across the country, and they have partnerships with a multitude of news organizations nationwide, and their job is to recruit the best talent into some of these smaller news organizations, whether it be TV, digital, newspaper, that cover stories that are not often told in the mass media. And so I knew I wanted to be around Black people. I wanted to cover Black people, and I was very specific. And so when I found out in Texas, I said, well, I gotta find my way and to figure out how I can get down here. So that's how I was able to work with the Defender, long story short.
Okay.
So yeah, I was actually working right here at Texas Southern, right across the way at Hannah Hall, and I wanted journalism. Every single job I had had before coming to TSU, somehow, some way, it always led to me doing reporting, doing the newsletter, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm checking out all the Black media outlets in the city, and the Defender stood out far anything and everything else. And I just so happened to work with a sister in the office, Misty Starr, used to work for the Defender. She said, you'd be perfect. Send your information to our CEO, Sonny Masai Giles. So I did that. Didn't hear anything for about 6 months. And it's busy as hell, and it's absolutely nothing personal, but when she finally did check out my writing samples, et cetera, she called me in, brought me on as a free thing, but then push come to shove, and 20 years later, I'm still here.
Well, again, I'm Terrence Harris, but before I get into my story, I would like to also introduce another one of our staffers, Jimmy Adgerson. He's our photographer, but also our high school sports writer, and he does a phenomenal job. I mean, I think better than anybody else in the city. So I just want to give it up to him real quick. Oh, yeah, that's my man. All right, anyways, okay, so for me, my journey has been maybe a little bit different. I started out working with the Black Press as a kid in high school for the Cleveland Call and Post, my hometown in Ohio. And they gave me an opportunity that they probably shouldn't have given me as a high school kid. I'm out covering murders and all sorts of things, getting cussed out. And but it was just a great learning experience. And as a kid, I mean, back in that day, you know, they were talking about emails and social media. Back when I was a kid, you just call people. So I called the editor or publisher of the paper, Harry Alexander, and said, hey, I'd like to meet with you and talk about an internship for the summer. I think I was coming out of my 11th grade year at that time. And surprisingly, he invited me, offered me a job. I think they paid me like $5 an hour, which was a big thing way back in the day. So I did that for a couple of summers. Really got to learn a lot, get experiences doing things that I don't think you should have a high school kid doing, but they gave me that opportunity. But once I went away to college, of course, you get introduced to the mainstream media, and so that became what you're striving for. So my internships were all mainstream. So all of my jobs, I've been a journalist for over 30 years now. And so I worked, the Houston Chronicle brought me here back in 2005. I worked for the Associated Press, NOLA.com, Indianapolis Star, Kansas City Star. And so that's been my main introduction. But a few years ago, opening came up in sports, and at that time I was back here and kind of doing some other things outside of traditional journalism. And so, but I still wanted to continue to do sports, so Sonny had an opportunity. We talked about it. Next thing I know, this is where I am. And so I kind of did that as a freelancer for a number of years. And then out of nowhere, we started having some conversations about me coming aboard full time. I didn't really necessarily know that that was the right move for us at that time, but the more and more Sonny and I talked, it made sense. And it took me back to something that John Lanier, who was my editor as a kid at the Cleveland Call and Post, you know, he always told me, he said, you know, Terrence, I know what you want to do, but I don't train journalists to become mainstream journalists. I want people to become journalists of black publications. And he said, so that's important to me. He said, I put a lot of energy into you. And he said, I just want you to, at some point in your career, at least consider giving that a shot. And so I kind of took his words and the conversations that Sonny and I, you know, had, and it seemed like it made sense. It was like that's destiny in some ways. Okay. And so I joined these guys and full time, I think maybe 2-3 years ago at this point. And I can honestly say it's been probably the most rewarding experience I've ever had in terms of, I think I've told a lot of good stories throughout my career, but I feel like I've had a chance to do impactful stuff with the Houston Defender. I mean, and I work with a staff that I really do believe is one of the best of his side, pound for pound. I mean, we do better work than anybody in this country probably, and definitely in the city when it comes to covering our community.
So you talked about impactful.
So she telling me shut up.
You talked about impactful, and that was what I wanted to talk about next. What stories would go untold if outlets like ours didn't exist? And either of you can jump in.
So, jail for 40 years. His name is Darius Elam. He was convicted of, no, he was charged with murder. He was convicted on like some very minor offense, neither of which he actually committed, but he's been years, and no one was covering that. And so when news of that story and news of another brother who had been just wronged by the system came to our desk, we jumped on it. And I went to prison to interview Brother Man. I've interviewed the Honey Brown Hope Foundation. That's the group that's been on the front lines advocating for this brother's release from jail. I literally just talked to him yesterday, you know, for an update. Zero DNA evidence. I mean, the brother should be out of jail. And amazingly, you know, when I talked to him, he's one of the most hopeful, just positive brothers I've ever met. But his story deserves to be told. And, you know, when there was national news, various in terms of black men and women being done wrong by the system, going national, I'm trying to figure out why in the hell is not the country talking about this story. And so that's just one of those types of stories that we have brought. We've done multiple articles on him, and we'll be doing more.
And we could go on and on. I mean, you know, like the SWAT. Yesterday we were actually having a conversation about a story titles about super neighborhoods. Do anybody in here know what a super neighborhood is? Okay, so he's the only one. And okay, number two. Out of this entire, but my point is, I mean, out of this huge room, I mean, but it's SWAT bringing knowledge to, you know, to the community that we didn't necessarily have. And I think because nobody else is telling those stories. And those are the things that we do. I mean, we can go up and down the line. I mean, some of the unique stories that Laura's told. If you want to know anything dealing with black women's issues, check out Rashonda. I mean, you know, it's just, her coverage is phenomenal.
Rashonda did a story, national, especially the one about black women in voting.
Black women in voting, and one of the most recent ones. People don't realize we are the ones that broke the story about the Bayou deaths, that being the majority black men. So while mainstream covers that story about the Bayou deaths, we went in and dug deeper to find out who those people were. And we found out that it was the majority black men being found dead in the bayous. And that story went national. Those type of stories, Fort Bend County had a valedictorian issue where people would transfer, they would be zoned to a particular school, and then they would go to a different school, but they would be a valedictorian at the black school. So that was another story that went national, and actually because of our stories, the district ended up changing their policy. So that is the power of the Black press. Laura, you have it?
And for myself, as a lifestyle and culture reporter, one of my goals in the beginning when I first came on board was to cover the diverse cultures of Blackness in the city, and that is not only being Black, but there's also a great Haitian community. There's also Afro-Latina community. There's a big African community here. And so when we have leaders in our administration calling Black people from these shithole countries, there's a negative connotation that we're seeing amongst those subsection of people. And so my duty is to show the greater audience that these are not shithole people, but these people are of value. These people have humanity. And so I cover these communities and show you the different, their specialty, what makes them special in this community that we are known for nationwide in Houston. So that's a very big thing. If we didn't have Black media, you wouldn't know. From whatever you heard from the mass media about this subsection of people, and that's just really my main focus for the Defender.
What are 3 things that students should be doing right now to break into media?
I'll take that one real quick. I mean, I always tell students when I talk with them that the most important thing is making the best use of your time while you're here. That's like getting involved with any news organizations, whether you want to be broadcast, print, or whatever. And in today's world, they all sort of intersect. So that's the key. Secondly, you have to get top level internships and get involved with the NABJ as well. I mean, the local chapter and the national chapter. Try to go to the national convention if you can. Apply for their internships, scholarships, and you will get a free ride basically to their conference. Like this summer, for instance, it's in Atlanta, but I think it's a little bit too late for the following years. Make sure, because next year is coming here. So, you could, take those opportunities to network, get to know people, and those will open up doors. That's how I got my first several jobs, was through the NABJ.
Read news, support the Black press, not just the Defender. You can check out wordinblack.com. That's a consortium of, I think, 11 different Black media groups all across the country. Check them out, wordinblack.com. Incredible work. And the last thing I'll say is Pan-African history, our story, because this is a labor of love. You can't be you can, but you won't really be effective if you don't love yourself and love Black people. So one thing I put high on the list is delve into our history and our story.
Some advice is to build your portfolio. I believe, how many people have brands? Okay. Yes. I encourage you guys to build. Right now I'm seeing, Gen Z, they take this very, very seriously. You need to have your own portfolio. I mean, a website. Instagram is cute, TikTok is cute and all of that, but tomorrow the owners of those companies, you're just using rented space. Tomorrow they can say, I don't need Instagram, and it will shut it down, and that is it. Where all the hard work that you have on those platforms will disappear. Have your own website, have your own portfolio, Substack. I believe, Rashana, you have a Substack too. Build your audience that way so that people can see your progress over time. That's how I was able to get jobs through my portfolio, and then also network across. I know coming up when I was looking for an opportunity, I felt like, oh yes, I had to, bypass a whole lot of people who are like maybe around my level. I was looking for like the highest. And the people who are the highest, like my boss, say, Sunny, hi, wave girl. Hi. Yes, that's our publisher. Please give a round of applause to her right there one time. Feel like you have to reach to the highest person of the organization to get a job. Like, you really need to like try to network amongst the people who you know who are in those spaces, who are just like you, because these are the next CEOs. These are who are going to be the next best thing, and they're sitting right next to you. You just don't know. And then to be consistent. You're going to get a lot of no's. And you're going to be frustrated, you're going to be pissed, you're going to be depressed, you're going to be angry. You have to keep going even if people are not paying attention. People's time, like, their attention span is like this. People don't have time to ponder about what you got going on. You really have to have movement in order for anything to happen for you. So these are the 3 things that I know have worked for me. I'm very annoying. I'm like a mosquito. So I knows. If I want something, I'm gonna find a way to get it, and I'm gonna keep getting it until it's there. And even if you have to pivot, it might not be where you're gonna go, but your journey might go like this. It might look like this, but the result, you'll get to the result, but it just might look differently. So pivot and adapt. Those are my advice to you all.
And I'll just add, network. These are some award-winning folk up here. Talk to them. They're real people, and they're ready and willing to help. Sincere Messiah Giles, who has been owner of the Defender for 700 years? I don't know how long.
90
but
to 95.
Right. But she bought the paper at 27 years old. I can't imagine being a publisher of a major newspaper at 27 years old, but that's what she did. And she has helped so many young folk. It's not even funny, but she's very approachable. So when Laura's talking about networking, not just on social media, go talk to these people while they are here in your face.
And talking about springboarding, Roland Martin used to be an editor for The Defender. We have a former a reporter and editor who works at the Washington Post. And so it's a springboard. It can be a springboard to other things. Anybody in here likes to post and eat? Anybody loves going out to foodie places? All right. Do you post about your food experiences? Okay, so my point in asking that question is, right now, if there was someone here that was documenting what Keith Lee does, basically, for Houston, there's a spot for you, because these outlets, The Defender is looking for content creators. And so we'll see someone who is doing their own thing, and next thing you know, your platform could be with The Defender, because your content is key. So going in the traditional route, how we used to go, doesn't have to be the case anymore. Now people can come to you if they see your platform, it matches up with something that we would enjoy having on our platform.
Yeah. And to Rashonda's point, I mean, please do not come out of school without practical experience in what you want to do. Because if you do, just go to graduate school, because you won't get a job. So please, I mean, go get practical experience in whatever it is. Be able to show people what you can do and what you've done and how you can help them. And that's how you get an opportunity. If you don't have that, like I said, please go to grad school.
What opportunities do you see that didn't exist before, that they have now, that didn't exist before?
Well, I would start with social media. I mean, you know, we didn't have that. We had nothing like that when I was in college. I mean, you know, and thank God in some ways, but in terms of just being able to get your message out, get your brand out, it's invaluable. I mean, and as a place to kind of house some of the content that you're doing, you know, you have that vehicle, and that's something that can be invaluable.
Can I add that if your social media is I'm that bee or a hot chick dropping it like it's hot, that's not. So let's have a professional social media. I know y'all got your secret ones. Keep the hot chick over there on the secret ones.
We know y'all TSU students, y'all ain't doing that, so we ain't even tripping.
That's
right?
fine. That's why they're silent.
What's the question again?
What opportunities do you see that didn't exist before?
there are a gazillion freelance opportunities. That used to be way less than it is today. But there's also opportunities for your unique perspective and voice. You don't have to code switch. You don't have to try to, do whatever. There is an audience for your voice and your perspective now more than ever. Next year is going to be the 200th anniversary of the founding of the Black Press. And the Black Press was founded, what's the phrase? This is paraphrasing, we can tell our story better than anybody else. That's basically what the Black Press is all about. And today, that's even more of a reality than it has ever been. So you don't have to try to change whatever is your passion and your perspective. Own that and tell your story.
And another thing, how many of you guys have cell phones? Hold them up. That's a vehicle that you have that we didn't have, and you can use that. I mean, I remember a few years ago here on this campus, Roland was here, and he was talking about how he kind of, because he was a print journalist for many years, and so he kind of ventured off into that. And basically, when he found news, he took his camera, set it up, and he told those stories, and look where it's gotten him.
And don't be afraid to reach out. Like, you could send an email and say, hey, I want to pitch a story about, 20 up and coming future entrepreneurs under 20. And you could find that right here on TSU's campus. And that's content. All Black media wants content. And if you establish yourself as someone that can provide that, you're opening up a door and building your portfolio. What is something that you wish you knew at 20 that you don't know now, that you know now that you wish you knew at 20?
That the newspaper industry was going to fumble the internet like they did. They knew it was coming, and they had no plan. And that's why you see so many journalists displaced these days, because they had no plan. So if I knew then what I knew now, I think I would have been more on the forefront of us preparing for this thing called the internet.
If I knew at 20 or before what I know now, I would have majored in journalism. I didn't major in journalism. But like I told you earlier, every job I had, I basically became a journalist. And so I have been learning on the job ever since. But if I knew then what I know now, this would have been my major. Because one thing I learned over the years is I taught African American studies for 20 years. And what really impacted me was so many of our heroes and sheroes were journalists. Ida B. Wells was a journalist. Malcolm X was the editor of Muhammad Speaks, which is now The Final Call. Marcus Mosiah Garvey built the largest Pan-African movement this world has ever seen, and the main engine for that was the paper that he published, The Negro World. W.E.B. Du Bois was one of the main authors of the NAACP's Crisis magazine. And so if you love your people, and history tells us, those folk who are on the front lines working for Black folk, they got into journalism because they realized they could tell stories, they could teach, they could talk about stuff other folk ain't talking about. That's the route I would have taken.
For me, I would say that TV is not the only lane to be successful in this industry. At the time when I was doing my schooling, I felt like everybody in my class felt like they needed to be on TV, not even talking about behind the scenes where the power is, but in the front. And we were manning the cameras in the back, and we were doing the on air, and we felt like when we got out, this is the only way. But there are who are invested in the digital space, even at that time. And a lot of people were like, oh, run, like even at NABJ, they would run to the TV folks. And then, the newspaper outlets, it was kind of like helter-skelter. There wasn't anything or anybody like that in front of them, but the TV lines would be so long. But they're actually newspapers and outlets who are invested in, like, where Rashonda was, how she was able to get into TV was through our publisher. And so if you guys can really truly look into those opportunities, newspapers are really making it happen. You can find your goal through, or your dream job or what have you through these medium and these outlets. But at that time, it just wasn't the it thing. So I wish I kind of knew that earlier.
So before we get to questions, I do want to ask AI. How has AI affected each of your jobs? Laura?
Let me just say it is impacted my job in any way. I just feel like you have to be a sponge. You always have to continue to learn. You don't want to be like in the back wondering what is happening. You have to just embrace the change. AI, I would say, use that as a tool. You say use it as a tool. It is indeed a tool to help you brainstorm, to help you try to figure out certain things, pitches to my editors and things like that. Like, I just see it as another tool to use. It's just so vast. There's so much to learn, and I'm embracing it. I actually like it.
So I was one of those anti-AI people. I've actually written op-eds. I'm like, haven't we seen The Matrix? Haven't we seen The Terminator? Haven't we seen these? We're literally destruction. But I have come around and recognize it as a very, very powerful tool to enhance the work that we do. We still do our writing, but it can enhance it. And I don't remember where I heard this before. I know our publisher reminded us of this comment. Someone once said, AI is not going to take your job, but the person that knows AI is going to take your job. And so no matter how you feel about it, you better learn how to use an effective tool.
And I agree with both of my colleagues just said. I think that you use AI as a tool, not a crutch. We use AI in a way where like to enhance our work, to challenge our work. I mean, to look at it, but it's still our work. And we're always trying to figure out what in our industry, SEO is huge. So we're trying to always figure out the best.
What's
way
SEO?
Search engine optimization. And and so that's how people find your stories, how they find your work. And so I think we've tried to play with using AI to sort of help us enhance that. And sometimes it's good, sometimes it isn't. And that's where the human in the room is necessary. I mean, because not everything that it's going to spit at you is going to make sense for you. But I think that I don't worry about AI taking our place, because it can't ask questions, it can't break news. It can. So there's still a need for us. And that's why you just never get lost in not doing your own reporting, not talking to people, because AI will never be able to do that for us. And that's how we continue to hold our own in this industry as this thing continues to evolve.
As someone who sees AI writing on several different levels, I encourage you to not let AI write your stories. At best, let it give you a rough draft, and then you go in. Number one, fact checking is crucial. If you were to ask ChatGPT right now, it would tell you that I'm worth $9 million. The lie detector in my bank account has determined that is a lie.
Don't believe her.
So you want to make sure you're checking the facts. I had a freelancer submit a story, and it was highlighting people to watch, Gen Z to watch. And one of them was a black race car driver who I was fascinated by his story. So I went to go dig up more on him, and he came up in ChatGPT, but he was not real. So that means this person just put the story in ChatGPT, asked for some Gen Zs to watch, and it spit out this fictitious name. So you have really got to be careful with the credibility. There is currently a woman who just lost her major book deal because AI wrote her book. And so you have to be very careful with that because fact checking is huge in the age of AI. But I am a proponent of using it as a tool, using it to brainstorm. Sometimes it will help you come up with your own ideas. So I'm not one of those that is opposed to it, but just use it as a tool and not let it just write your paper. I judged an essay once, and they did the whole. They had a beautiful essay written, and at the very bottom it said, "Now, would you like this in a more professional tone?" So that means they not only did they have ChatGPT write it, they didn't even bother to read it. So you want to make sure that you're submitting your best, because I never replied to that person. They have no idea, what happened. Someone else asked about them, and I didn't recommend them. Because if you don't care about your work enough to even read over it, then what message are you sending? All right, anyone have any questions?
Before the question and answer session, I'm going to take the first question.
Okay.
And then the first three members of the audience, that goes after me will get a free copy of Roshanda's signed book. I fought hard to get this free copy, so you don't want to lose it.
I have a question.
So let me now take the first question. So you should be
Okay.
able to pick up, from the audience. My question is going to center on black press.
Mm-hmm.
From the classroom point of view, and also from the field, a lot of our young folks, new generation, are less interested in both the black press and what it represents. And we are in the process of trying to see how we can modernize or structuralize black press so that, we will be able to sell it to the younger generation.
Have you checked us out?
And then that's part of the problem.
We're very modernized.
Why we invited
Yes. So
not only defending.
his point is that a lot of young people really basically dismiss the black press. So I used to work for the National Enquirer. Don't tell anybody. I was the paparazzi. But one of the things that the Enquirer used to be guilty of was guilty by association. People would come up and say, "You guys write stories about Michelle Obama being pregnant by an alien." We didn't. But the Weekly World News and other tabloids wrote those type of stories. But people made us, attributed that to us because we were on the rack with all the rest of those outlandish tabloids. I think a lot of times the black press gets that same type of reaction. One, people don't give us credit for the type of stories that we do. And that's what I say makes the difference in what we do at the Defender. If you look at our stories, if you look at our website, defendernetwork.com, you will see stories that you won't see anywhere else. And so it is a matter of getting our name out there, getting the black press out there, and students giving us a chance. If you follow us on Defender Network on Instagram, follow us on Defender Network, you will see the different types of stories, the different types of highlights, and you have to get them one person at a time. And that is how we do it. It's just letting people see that we are different. And then if our young people are looking, they're like, okay, you know what? I could do this type of content, and getting the word out that way.
And another thing, we need you guys. I mean, we really do. We need younger voices. Because we need to speak to a growing, readership that we need. I mean, to continue to grow, and that's going to require y'all's voices. We need y'all's perspectives. The different ways that you guys go about telling stories that we don't. I mean, and I think that, don't be afraid to be you and be unique, and approach Sonny about opportunities. Talk to us, because in ways they get involved, because we really do. We need you guys. I mean, just keeping it real.
And we stand up for black people and black institutions. I don't know if y'all noticed this, but oftentimes on mainstream media, there will be a shooting out in the Woodlands, and they'll say a shooting occurred right across the street from TSU. So anything negative, they will find a way to associate with, and we don't do that. We highlight all the incredible, like you said, all the incredible stories that other folk aren't telling. Now, if there's something that folk need to know that isn't going right at TSU, at PV, or whatever other black institution, we're going to cover it. But we don't go out of our way to dump on black institutions. In fact, we do the exact opposite. We want to make sure that we are shining a light on all the incredible things that are going on that other folk are ignoring.
And as far as the, supporting the black press, I mean, we're in a day and age. I talk to a lot of young people all the time, and when I do ask them, like, what kind of news you digest, a lot of them say Hollywood Unlocked. They say the Shade Room. That's where they get their daily, or they go to TikTok. And so we sit down on a weekly basis talking about how we can meet you guys where you are. And then, of course, with newspapers, because there's a shift in the industry where we're focusing on digital. And how we can be able to show our personalities. Back in the day, we're not talking about personalities. We're talking about you got to know how to write. And you see your byline, but they don't know the faces behind the byline. So now we have to bring out our personalities before you, and then how we can bring our personalities out on social media. So you know, okay, yeah, Laura, I know her through these type of stories because I seen her story on social, or I saw this story on TikTok or something like that. We're trying to meet you guys where you're at as a news organization, so we can appeal like the way you feel when you're rolling through TikTok or Shade Room or what have you. But we're a news organization. We're trying to be professional. We don't want to make it look like we're blogging or, like I said, dumping on Black people, because this is the conversation that we hear amongst ourselves all the time. Like, oh, it's all Black people doing negative things, but we're literally here. Oh, and then they always point to the mass media. Well, no one's covering this, but then I say name 3 local news reporters that you follow, and I can't get people to name 2, you know. So it's really just like when you leave here, if you don't learn anything else, just try to list all the news outlets. The Defender, what are you interested in? The type of news that I'm sure people are covering that every single day, but you guys do not see it. Get the names of them, get their beats, follow. And you'll know that you see the work that is being done that is constantly being ignored all the time. So we're in competition with this news dynamic, this whole digital news space right now.
Okay, thank you. All right, bunch of hands up. I know if it's all yours first.
That's in our paper this week.
Yeah.
The TSU riot story.
Yeah, we have that in there right now. There's a story about the TSU sit-in, so you see that type of thing all the time.
Right, and it's usually ignored. But another point I want to just make out is to have a Rolodex. I use a Rolodex that have numbers of people. I'm doing a story on Cuba, so I'm calling people in Cuba. You know, have that Rolodex of different people locally and nationally and internationally that you can talk to, that you can call and say, hey, I'm doing this story. Can you talk to me? You need 5 minutes. I use my phone for everything.
Mm-hmm.
I do the interviews on the phone, type it up, I digitize it, and put it on my computer, and I go from there. It's really easy to do podcasts and do news if you want to really do it and get the stories out. As like you said, it's not being covered.
Right.
The CUNY home is being taken over, and that's not. I'm talking about it, but you know, I get.
And we covered that.
We're still waiting on your question.
Huh?
We're waiting on your question.
My question is, how do you get people to know about a lot of the indie media voices that are out there?
Well, that's what we were just.
And I'm not just talking about locally, I'm talking about nationally, internationally, especially even the French, the Afro-French, francophones and all that.
Well, that's what we were just talking about with him is we just have to keep being out there. One of the things I do love about the Defender, when you go to NABJ, you'll see them call the Defender name. The last one, I think we won 16 awards. The National Newspaper National Newspaper Association, that conference, we won 15, 16 awards. And what's happening is people see the name and they start talking about it. Unfortunately, it is a slow go because we're competing against TikTok and we're competing against everything else. So we just have to keep delivering quality work and hoping that people like you continue to follow. Yes, sir.
Okay, so I know how y'all say y'all are competing with like social media and the Shade Room and all that stuff. So do you not think like to utilize those outlets for your media? I mean, I know you said like you want to stay professional because you're a news outlet, but like, should you not do both?
So one of the reasons why we don't, as a news outlet, I mean, there are times we may attribute something else to other organizations or other outlets. But what we don't want to do is every day you log on and you see that we have a Shade Room story, because you know what'll happen is you'll just say, let me go directly to the Shade Room. So our goal is to do our own stories and have the Shade Room to do some of our stories. And we've had that. The Chronicle has picked up our stories, national organizations. As a matter of fact, every week, each one of us have stories in newspapers all over the country. And we just try to stay away from completely taking other people's work, because you'll start going to them.
That's not what I meant. I meant like you put your news
On theirs,
on the social media. Like
a shared network.
I was using that as an example, but like you have your own social media where you put your news out, so it's like on TV and it's on.
Oh, so like me start, like Rashonda Tate Media. Is that what you're saying?
Like you have your own Shade Room, basically.
Because I need that paycheck from her. I mean, and so if you to do that, you'd have to have sponsors. You'd have to have, unless you're just doing it to do it. But a lot of us, you know, we got to pay some bills. And so I think that is a great way for you or someone looking to break in, because now you got something we want. And someone may come to you and want to pay you for that.
And we have done something similar, the Defender Roundtable. That was the brainchild of this brother right here. So that whole kind of Shade Room kind of conversation about a particular topic, we've done that. In fact, you can go to our YouTube channel and see some of the past episodes that we've done. But to your point, we probably could seek to expand.
And if y'all do us a favor and send us some feedback of what you know, how we can improve that product and how, you know, and we make it where you guys want to see it. So if you do take a look at the what's it called again?
Defender Roundtable. And topics to cover.
Yeah, topics.
And topics to cover. We need that. We need that input.
Okay, thank you. Got an.
There's a competition going on. Your questions has to be substantial.
All right, back in the black. What trends are emerging and stories starting to repeat themselves?
One trend I see is Black institutions owning the education of our children and our community. Since everything Black is being made illegal, there's this movement all across the country. Community centers, civic organizations, churches, temples, mosques, they are coming together, and it's a beautiful thing to see. And we're saying, why in the hell have we been waiting so long to teach our children our story, you know, leaving that in someone else's hands? And I guess it took all the madness that's going on right now, but that's the trend that I see that I'm really proud of, actually.
Okay, any other? Okay, good question.
So I'm a little underexposed to the journalism process because I'm not in journalism and but how do you pretty much inquire stories that are, you know, never heard of, especially in the Black community?
That's a good question. How do you inquire about stories that are never heard of? I mean, think about what you're reading or what you see. You know, if you're here at TSU and you're part of a program that is doing something great, like the Ascend program, most people don't know what that is outside of TSU. It's a story on our website today because one of our reporters went out and found it. So when you have things like that, you pitch it. You pitch it to the media to cover so that we can let the community at large know about it. We have a story about Comm Week on the Defender website. And the tie-in is not just for TSU students, but why the community needs to know about AI and what you guys are doing to learn so that you can go back out in the community and work. So it's all, those stories are around you every day. One of the challenges we've seen a lot is we like to get interns from TSU. Honestly, what happens is, like Laura said, most of the interns want to go to one of the mainstream media. Without realizing your best potential to carve your own path is with a paper like The Defender.
And then also relationships. We form real relationships with community. That's why, you know, these folk are always breaking stories. And, you know, to a point I said earlier, we get story ideas from community or just from reading and seeing what's going on in the world. What are folk talking about? What's passionate to them? That's why I said, don't be out there trying to code switch. Be you. Be who you are. What's important to you? What stories do you want covered? And so that's the approach we take. We sit around and we brainstorm, but Sonny is always hitting us over the head. It's the relationships, it's the people in the community that are going to give you the lead to the stories that the community wants to hear.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So what are some of the most important as well as underlooked roles and careers in an organization such as the Houston?
So we have a number of roles. I'm managing editor. I started as a reporter. I was also a campus editor, so the editor for the Campus Defender, which was a high school newspaper. And that came just because we had this idea to do a paper in high schools, and it became extremely popular. You can't go to a mainstream media and say, I want to start something in high school. So in outlets like ours, you have the opportunity, like I said, to carve your own path. If you have ideas, if you say, I want to start a show for Gen Z, let's make it happen. We can start it on YouTube. If it's doing well, our publisher has the connections to get sponsors. And now next thing you know, you're going global. We talked about what I knew at 20, what I wish I knew at 20, was that I could have built my own talk show. I used to want to do it. I'm too old for it now. But I wish that I could go back and build my own talk show and let the people and the money come to me. So it's hard to say which job because there are so many that you can have. We have the standards, the reporters. Laura started out as an education reporter. Now she moved over to culture. She just did a fabulous piece on Houston's slab community. I don't know anything about a slab, but it was a great piece that was aired all over the country. But that is because it was something that she found while she was doing, and then she moved over to culture and lifestyle.
And I'd like to add to that, you know, like we're looking for, I think this industry needs more engagement editors who really take charge of the social media, come up with innovative ways to introduce us to a broader audience. I think that's good. I also think editing. I think being a good editor, being a copy editor, being, you know, a person that works with words, I think, you know, that's a skill that's very much undervalued but very much needed. So when you're looking at, you know, opportunities, look along those lines. I mean, because I think both of those are still growing.
And I wish there was someone, like I'm going back to the food thing because that's huge. I'm trying to lose weight. I can't go out and eat every weekend. But if there's somebody here that wants to show us brunch spots, that's something we'd love. If there's someone here that loves shopping and would love to show us where to find the best finds, the thrifting, any of that, we'd love that type of content. So keep that type of thing in mind. Yes, sir.
All right. Lifestyle and culture. I was always a general assignment news reporter prior to the Defender. That was always my ride. I didn't have a particular beat. I was always a general assignment. So coming to the Defender and then having to have a definitive beat, I was like, ooh, it's different. But I think it's good to have a niche that people know you well enough. So prior to the Defender, I was already well deep in the community. I'm Nigerian, Igbo specifically, so I was very tapped into the Caribbean community. Back in Boston, have a major Caribbean community, major African community. I was well deep in it. So it was very easy for me to tap into those spaces of Black people. And then when I was freelancing for the Black newspaper over there, the Bay State Banner newspaper, I was the newspaper ideas. I knew where things were. I knew where things were happening. I knew who to tap into in those spaces and pitch it to my editor at the time, Yahoo Miller. And, you know, that, and I took a very good interest in that because some people were like, oh, it's odd for me to see you here because we don't really have reporters covering this specific type of protest when the Chibok girls kidnappings happened. I was at this City Hall Government Center. I was there getting the interviews and people were like, what is that about? What is that about? So I at that time I was like, this is so great. And I just wanted to continue doing that. If you guys have you guys invested in like a study abroad program at all? Do they have that type of programs here at TSU?
They do.
Yeah, so if you have the time and the opportunity, try that, maybe for a semester or two. I did that. I went to Paris to study political communications and international relations between the US and France. And it was an amazing experience, because what you're learning about European or countries in the book, get to the country, you're like, oh wait, no. Oh wait, Paris is black? It got so many black people. They run the whole city. And so being able to talk to black people over there and getting their experiences, I'm like, they didn't teach me this in school. Now I gotta come back to the US. I gotta figure out, this is what I learned. Who's gonna listen to the type of stories that I just witnessed when I was out of the country for months and months and months? And I caught a bug. Like, now I just wanna cover black people. Like, there's so many things going on. We are all interconnected no matter where we are, whether in the US, the Caribbeans, the Latin America, wherever. We all have a plight or a struggle or something that is uniting us, and that's what I wanted to do more of. When I did work for corporate news organizations, to pulling teeth. The large demographic of black people were there, but to cover those stories, like, let's put that on hold for now. I want you to go out here and cover this instead. And I was just like, okay, all you gotta say is okay, because that's your assignment and you have to do it. You have to get it done by today. And so I just felt like it was pulling teeth. But when I'm with the black news outlets, I can say this is what's happening because this is our demographic, and like there's a peace of mind knowing that they agree, like they understand. They hear me, they see me, because this is the community that we're surrounded with 24/7. So that's how if that answered your question, that's how I got connected to that. And plus, I was in the fashion, I did modeling, all that stuff. I was heavily tapped into that space. I just didn't see that as a career. I thought it was just for fun. So now coming here with The Defender, I'm covering lifestyle and culture. I'm like, all right, I'm taking it's like full. So Houston, it has so much potential in the arts and entertainment space. And we know we see that in New York City. We see that in LA, Atlanta. But they're like, Houston. So my job is to highlight that, showcase that. And I've been doing that heavily for the last few years now. So much talent in this city. I love it. So that's what I do.
And we need young blood because we had got a pitch to cover Rod Wave. And I was like, my daughter almost choked me from New York. But that's why we need that young. I didn't know who Rod Wave was. So I didn't realize we missed a great opportunity. So we need young people to say, have you lost your mind? I'll do it. You have a question? So I worked in mainstream media for more than 20 years. I used to work for Fox 26 here. I worked for Channel 2 here. And it was disheartening a lot of times for me. One, I was at one of the stations and they did two back-to-back stories. One was two black kids that had been arrested for robbing someone. And the anchor at the time wrote the story, and he said two thugs robbed an old lady. And then it was followed by another story with three white kids who held up a bank or did something like that. And he called them misguided youth. And he was a really nice guy, but some racism is just ingrained, and he didn't realize it. So I was happy to be able to point it out, but I would see that kind of thing all the time. And it was frustrating. I wanted to do a story on young black girls whose mothers were on death row. That was a story that I pitched, and I was excited about it, and mainstream said, no, we got a better story for you. Can your bra cause cancer? And they wouldn't let me do the story that impacted the black community because they wanted me to go out and do that. They wanted me to cover stories about dead horses when I'm pitching stories that impact the black community. So we see it all the time, which is why we love the Black Press.
And I haven't worked in mainstream media, but I'm a minister over at the Shrine of the Black Madonna, and several years ago, actually decades ago, we were doing a program celebrating Malcolm X. and someone from the mainstream media called our culture center and asked if they could interview Malcolm 10. Was he going to be in town?
Malcolm 10. Think about that. It's, y'all.
Yeah, get that. They don't have the knowledge of our history and culture that we bring to the table. So that's one of the reasons why this is home to me, and this is where I'll stay.
One of the prime examples, when Kamala Harris walked into a room in D.C. and one of the Washington Post reporters said her sorority sister screeched because she didn't know what a ski-wee was. And so it is integral that we be there to tell our stories and correct those people and call those people to the carpet. Yes, sir.
So like I said, I'm a little underexposed to journalism, but how does the defender become mainstream? Because like, the defender is talking about black.
Well, I'll take that one.
That is a great question. How does the defender become mainstream?
And I would argue that we are mainstream. I mean, our news is mainstream. I mean, our culture is mainstream, and we do everything. I mean, we publish every day. So, I mean, there's no, weekly deal anymore. I mean, we're daily. And so, so I look at us as being mainstream because I look at our news, our culture, and the things going on with us as being part of the mainstream. There's no United States without black people.
And one of the things that is huge about that is it is changing a mindset. As you heard earlier, I'm an author. I write books, and I was on a panel one time on a radio show, a conservative radio show, and the man asked me, he said, "Your book sounds good. Can I read it?" And I said, "Can you read?" And he said he didn't think he could read it because it had black people on the cover. And that taught me then we read them, but they don't read us. And so that is a struggle that we have, and we got to just change it one person at a time. The Chronicle follows us. The Texas Tribune follows us.
Follows us and takes our stories.
And so we have to just keep doing our work and hoping that our circle continues to expand. Any other questions? Dr. Ulasi.
So thank you all very much. Great panel. I want to return to this question about how do you become mainstream? Because it's a category in our field that describes the larger media institutions, New York Times, ABC, right? For a defender network that has a unique niche they cover, if you say that you're mainstream, people think that you have lost, your authenticity, quote unquote, and you're trying to pander to a larger audience. Is that a challenge?
I think it is a challenge. How many of you think BET is still black entertainment television? You still think it is? It's not. It's owned by white people who shaped the narrative. Now BET Plus, but it's determined. Anything they don't want, anything the mainstream doesn't want, won't happen because it is no longer owned by black people.
BET used to have one of the most powerful news talk programs, but when it became white-owned, that went away.
Now, in fairness, Bob Johnson them kind of got rid of that.
They bought it.
Oh, the brother man that sold it.
Yeah, and to sell it, so that's one of the things. That is one of the things that I admire about our publisher, because when we are successful, when any black product is successful, you are going to see mainstream again come and try to swoop it up. I have a friend who buys up black stories to make them into movies. He has no intention, he's a white guy, he has no intention of ever making them into movies. He just doesn't want anybody else to make them into movies. So he gives a little money to the author, and that person is excited, but their book will never see the light of day. But he just doesn't want anybody else to do it. That's a strategy that they do to get rich. And so I hope that you all will get to a point in your life where you don't have to be bound by the money. They want power. So the conglomerate, they bought up BET Plus, bought Tyler Perry out. So that, all those shows that Tyler had on BET Plus, that is now owned by Paramount. Paramount is a good friend with the president. So you have to know your coverage is going to be limited on what you see in the future. So that's why ownership is so important. And I know that we tend to want to just go with the money. And I don't negate anybody that says, okay, I'm gonna sell out and take this money and make a legacy for me and my kids. But there comes a point where you have to say, I don't want to do that. Prime example, I have a line of books for teenagers. And I got a big movie offer to make this series into a movie, into a big movie. I was so excited about it. It's about 4 teenage girls, 3 black and 1 interracial. And they loved it, and they wanted to make it into a movie, but they wanted to change all 4 characters to white girls. And as bad as I needed that money, I had to take a stand on that because I have a strong white young audience. And so what would I be saying to those girls if they go and see their favorite characters and they're all white? So I had to have some principle and ownership and walk away from the money. You don't see that all the time. Yes.
So this question is for basically my defender panel. And it's a major issue because this is what we have to deal with in the field and then in the classroom, which is where we're having this conference. So last year, TSU was in the news all year long for the bad reasons.
Right.
Despite the fact that there are lots of good things that happen here. But then, in comparison with the neighboring institutions, we found out that Rice and U of H had the worst season, with crimes, rape, bad stories all through. Now, despite the fact that they were still, reported not as bad as TSU, they kind of framed it, as some kind of unfortunate situation, whereas TSU were framed as an administrative failure. I know that Defender tried so much. I read all the stories from Defender about TSU. Thank you so much. But how do you, being, Black Press, please don't mistake Black Press for just a community paper. What you call mainstream is your mainstream. Defender is our interest, so that's our mainstream because they represent our interest. How would you use your power, your newsroom power, to kind of counter these narratives?
So I'm going to let the panel address that, but I'm going to start with, before we get there, part of it comes from the pride for your institution. If stuff happens at Rice and you go over to Rice and you try to talk to people to tell us what's going on, you may find one person. Keeping it real, if you come over here to TSU and try and talk about the negative things going on, you got folks lined up. Oh, let me tell you, this what happened, this what happened. So it's having a pride in your institution. Now that doesn't mean the media doesn't want you talking to us, but don't be so quick to jump on social media. Don't be so quick to just start spewing all the negative things because people are there to pick it up and run with it. Anything to add?
Radical honesty is my answer. And the reason I say that is because, and I think I said this earlier, if there's something that's going wrong, we're going to report it, but it's from a position of love. We want to help. She works here. I worked here for 10 years. So I am not out here trying to make Texas Southern look bad, number one. Number two, I know of all the great things that are going on. I said earlier that a lot of our content and article ideas come from our community connections. Several of my community connections literally work here on the campus. So I'm getting fed all of the incredible things that are going on here. So if we have to write about, for example, Dan Patrick and the
audit.
And the audit, we'll mention it, but we will also talk about all the incredible things that are going on. So we don't do is what I'm trying to say on TSU, but it comes out of our love, number one, for ourselves. we're black, and so we're going to stand up and fight for black people. And so we, no matter what the topic is, and I think that is one of the biggest differences. I don't know if that answered your question.
So we'll report on the audit because that is news and that is our responsibility. But we're also going to point out that the board looks like the board looks like. We're going to point out everything. We're going to tell the complete.
The board. And so if you're going to
trying to help them keep their grants and all of that. Calm down.
Yeah, he definitely is. The pastor is the most radical.
The pastor who has sat on his panel and cussed twice. But
and I was about to cuss again, then I saw. Okay, let me.
But no, I mean,
let me chill.
The thing is, we got to cover you guys, and we got to cover every institution. If we're covering you, we're going to cover you, but we're going to do it with accuracy and fairness. We're going to make sure that we're reaching out to you, to TSU, Prairie View, or any institution that we cover. We're going to always make sure that you have a chance for your voice to be heard, your perspective to be, to be added. Now, a lot of times what we run into with TSU, to be completely honest, is they don't want to talk. And I think, though, when you look at the totality of it as well, we do far more positive stories about these two institutions and many of our black institutions than we do negative. But you got to understand, when you choose to get covered, you're opening yourself up to everything. And so, and when there's scrutiny to be had, we're going to give it to you.
But it's also having folk on the campus that are willing to talk to the press. Like I said, I have my leads here at TSU, but I would love more. But I think I have more here than at Prairie View. At Prairie View, and this is absolutely no hate on PV, but for me, it has been like pulling teeth. For other reporters at the Defender, Laura, look, she can get anybody. She's had way more success at getting interviewees from PV than I have. But to tell those positive stories or to tell what's going on, we need folk who are here who are willing to talk. I got my few, but I need way more than just that.
Yes.
I was going to add, because every time I try to do something on TSU, I got to go to, there's nobody to talk to, but when I go to UH, you're right, they got a media department. The media department sends out emails every day. What's going on on campus, who to talk to, you need to talk to somebody on this. I never get that from Texas Southern. And that's not hidden on Texas Southern, but
to TSU's defense, we do get those emails because they do send us from their media department. So it does exist.
It does exist?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, and also, I'm just curious, do you guys, because you mentioned the black community, do you guys cover outside the black community? Because you mentioned Africa, the African diaspora is large. And we're talking about, we got newspapers here in Houston from the Haitian community or the Nigerian community. Do you guys cover those other communities?
Oh, absolutely. Laura was the pro at that. Yeah. That was
man. She's
one of
a
her.
war for the work that she does.
I'll be on it since 2021.
Yeah.
Still on it. So if there's anything in those communities that I'm not seeing, I tell people, please don't be shy. Reach out. Let us know. Be our second, third, fourth, fifth eye. Because I try my best to be everywhere, but I sometimes I can't. And that's where I would have you all, and a lot of you guys, especially here at TSU, you have been so gracious. Y'all email me, and you'll be like, oh, hey, there's this thing happening, see if you can come out. And I can't just come out. I have to, there's like a protocol. I have to make sure I get the green light from the team before I can go out there. But that is what I definitely need, is the extra hand and the extra set of eyes for things that are going on in our culture and our community.
Okay. Yes, Anthony.
Sorry, I'm asking a lot of questions, but
No problem.
it's designed to help the students. Let's talk about skills. I work with a lot of a few old school reporters who send stories to me. I have to read the story, edit them, format them, and then give you one press. And I do that because those are old school reporters who don't have those skills. So now for students who are graduating, what specific skills do you require them to have? Because, I'm aware that they have to write, edit their stories, be able to upload them to some platform and all that. Coming to Defender as a what skills do you expect from me to be able to hire me?
Of course, writing, and not just rehashing. One of the things we do not do at the Defender is rehash. We do forward looking. So if we were to cover this Comm Week after the fact, our story would be, what now? What impact will these people have out in the community? So anything that's coming is forward looking, because what you don't want is just a whole newspaper of rehashed press releases, rehashed events. We do what we call solution journalism. What is the solution to the problem that you're presenting? And so if we covered the protests where the TSU students went outside the president's office the other day, what we're doing is we're going to highlight the power of the students coming together and what happens now. So that's one of the skills, is the writing. If you can do editing, if you can do content creation, you can then begin writing your own ticket. But it begins with the foundation of writing, because we have a lot of people that can't write.
Reading is a skill. Reading is one of the best ways to become a better writer, and also find ways to up your intellectual curiosity, to ask questions, to not just accept stuff on face value, because when you do that, then you will be able to expand your knowledge base. And the last skill I'll mention, and I frame it as a skill because I think it is being able to learn more about our own history, heritage, and culture, and to feel good about that. There are attacks on every weak and leaning side to all things black, and that's why I'm framing this as a skill, because in this day and age, when folk don't want us learning about our story, you've got to take the extra effort to do that. But that is a skill that, if you're going to work in the black press, you definitely have to have that in your heart if you're going to do the job right.
And what I would add to that is just, if you want to be a writer, identify 4 or 5 writers, and they don't have to necessarily be from Houston. They could be from anywhere in the country, and read those people every day. Make that a habit. And you're not trying to copy what they're writing, but you're looking at their writing style, their approach to reporting, and that's also in broadcast, whether it's TV, radio, or whatever. Find people that resonate with you, who resonate with you, and then just follow them and pick up on their styles and their methods, and use those, turn those into your own, and then just sort of adapt that to what you want to do.
I would say a soft skill would be public speaking. You're going to be talking a lot. You're going to be in some spaces that are going to make you very uncomfortable. I remember earlier in my career when they had us do an assignment, MMJ solo, and I was trying to knock on some doors. Very uncomfortable. I don't know who these people were. They don't know me, but they weren't answering the phone, so you're gonna have to get up, get in the car, drive, park, and knock on the door. And they had like a pit bull. Get off my property. Let me tell you, I ran for the hills. You're gonna have to be able to be in spaces that you're not comfortable in, talking to people. Right now, like post-COVID, I just feel like a lot of people are like, this is how they are here, but when you see them in person, they're literally against the wall. They don't know how to talk. They don't know how to work a room. They don't know how to take up space. I take up space. Anywhere I go, I must take up space, because you don't know who is who in the room that are gonna help you with your next lead, help you with your next pitch. And to be able to do that, you're gonna have to be like personable. You have to be able to have people like, I remember her, I remember him. They had that it thing. Let me reach out to him. Let me reach out to her. You have to take up space. As black people, everywhere you go, you have to be like this. And it has worked. It has worked over time for me. I say that as a soft skill, because I don't know why public speaking is like, it's so, if you train it, it gets comfortable. And then you can be able to move in anywhere. Your editor will tell you, go here, and you're like, I got it. I can do it, you know? We're covering the elections, and you're going to cover MAGA community. And I've been in those spaces where I sat down and I was like, okay, I'm shaking, because I don't know what they're gonna say. I don't know what they're gonna do, what their thought process is, but I'm there, you know, just to listen and say, here, you're gonna be thrown into some spaces like that. You just don't know, but you gotta be able to operate and move around.
All right. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Does the Defender have any opportunities with visual
Yes, that actually is the area where we're going because that is how many of you get your news. So we do visual storytelling every single week, every day, right? Every day we have to have a visual story on it. And yes, we are always, especially interns that are getting credit. And again, like if you come on, you can write your tickets. You can say, okay, I'm here as, the entertainment intern, but I want to do a food show or I want to do whatever. Here's a way that you can write your ticket, and you have a team that will help you figure that out.
Rashonda must be hungry. She didn't mention
I know,
food about 15 times.
Because Keith Lee is making a killing. Yes, it's defendernetwork.com is our website, and on there it has the information to get to me. I'm the managing editor and handle the interns. Yes, yes. Rashonda at defendernetwork.com, but you have to be following us on Instagram and then go to the website. Got to do what you got to do. Any other questions? Well, this has been wonderful. I hope that you all will really take a look at The Defender because you will be shocked at the type of stories that you're seeing. There's a young lady who was in our newspaper this week named Jamie Perry, an extremely talented violinist. We are highlighting her. We highlighted a chef, a Louisiana chef who is here now, who has her own business. So that's the type of stories we do. If you have someone in your family, if you're doing something that you think the community at large needs to know about, let us know. Pitch to us because we would love to feature and tell your stories. It's going to be hard-pressed. You'll be hard-pressed to go anywhere else and get your stories told. So we're here to do that. Yes.
So do you ever retell stories or recover certain businesses? Let's say you've talked about a certain business before last year or 2 years ago. Did you guys ever revisit certain?
We would look for. We try to have in between, but if there's a new angle, then yes. So for example, I just did a story on this young lady who has Sienna wings. And we did a story on her and them trying to move her out of Sienna. She's 22, 23 years old, but we'll do another story because she won Shark Tank but never got her money. So that's another story that we'll do revisit it. We put a little time in between it, but yes, we do.
And we did stories on her when she was a teenager and got started, right?
Right. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you to our esteemed panel and our publisher, Sonny Messiah Giles. Yes.
First of all, let me tell you about Eastern Defender, just a little experience within the past 2 weeks. We have been doing this conference every year. This is the 44th Media Communication Conference. And we have been sending out press releases, seeking press support and press collaboration. This year we sent out press releases